chronicled in deep dispute with my record label.
Which is Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
He wore purple like armor and treated every note like a truth. Prince didn't just make hits, he made rules. For himself, for his band, and, if we're honest, for the rest of pop to catch up to. And when the industry crossed those lines, when hype eclipsed craft or imitation passed for innovation, he pushed back. Not always with a press release, sometimes with a side-eye from the stage.
You would look different when it was finished. It takes a long time, there's a lot of music done.
A barbed one-liner or a quiet no that thundered across the business. Tonight, we're tracing 8 flashpoints where Prince's standards collided with superstardom and why those moments still matter. It wasn't a cartoon feud, it was chess between perfectionists. The world wanted a megaton duet on Bad, and on paper it made sense. Two architects of the 80s, both obsessed with precision, both able to bend radio to their will. Then Prince hit the opening line, "Your butt is mine." He stopped and asked the question only a purist would ask. Who is saying that to whom? That single lyric created a power dynamic he couldn't accept without bending his own on-record persona. For Prince, words weren't wallpaper, they were contracts. If a line blurred authorship, image, or intent, it wasn't negotiable. He walked. The mythology says he still toyed with the idea. Sheila E. has recalled that he cut a slinky, Princified take on Bad, then chose the most Prince solution imaginable. Delete it. Not because he couldn't win the moment, but because the win would come with an asterisk, a compromise stamped into history. That's the part casual fans miss. Prince didn't avoid the stage. He avoided situations that diluted authorship. Sharing a mic with Jackson on Jackson's song, opening with a line that read as a taunt, risked turning a meeting of equals into a scene from someone else's movie. The same gravity applied to We Are the World. Prince skipped the star-packed session, partly because giant committee records blurred accountability, partly because the circus around them swallowed nuance. Instead, he contributed For the Tears in Your Eyes to the associated album, keeping control of sound, message, and credit. That was his pattern. If the room got too crowded, he built his own. So no, the MJ chapter isn't about petty dislike. It's about an artist who believed that every syllable carries weight, and that legacy is a ledger. He'd rather be exact alone than approximate together, and that decision still echoes. Prince and Madonna didn't just dominate the 80s, they taught pop how scandal sells. They circled collaboration and they clashed. Years later, Prince vented that at Warner Brothers, it was always about Madonna, that she absorbed the label's attention while he sold out multiple nights. Fair or not, that line captures the pressure cooker of a company chasing images and weekly chart optics. With these two, Respect and Rivalry shared a couch. She praised his genius, and he critiqued the machinery that amplified her myth. The friction was philosophical. Madonna treated pop like theater, costume changes as punctuation, shock as strategy, a camera she commanded. Prince treated pop like sacred craft, songs carved in solitude, bands drilled to diamond hardness, a stage that answered only to the groove. Both were absolute about control, just in different dialects. On one roster, you get a quiet war of priorities. One artist rewarded for reinvention as spectacle, another measured by how far he could bend sound without bending his standards. There were near misses and brief thaws. Invitations floated, calls were made, and then the math of ego, timing, and brand politics snapped everything back. Neither needed a duet to validate stature. If anything, each guarded their myth by keeping the other at arm's length. Prince bristled at the feeling that marketing could outrun music. Madonna never apologized for mastering the game that kept her dead center in culture. So this isn't hero versus villain. It's two North Stars tugging the sky in different directions. He refused to be the second headline on his own label. She refused to quiet a playbook. Respect, distance, occasional sparks, that's the orbit. Same building, different belief system. And between them, a question that still haunts pop. Should art lead the image, or can image be art when the results move the world? Prince's humor could be surgical. When xyBack took over the airwaves, he grabbed a mic at a late-night party and delivered a 6-word masterclass in shade. Sexy never left. That deadpan line wasn't just a joke about trends, it was a philosophy statement. Prince believed charisma and groove aren't fashions that disappear and reappear with a chorus. They're the baseline of real music. If a single claims to bring sexy back, he suggested, maybe the industry forgot what gave songs there. Justin Timberlake, then riding a career crest, didn't let the jab float away. On Timbaland's posse cut, Give It To Me, he slipped in a retaliatory lyric, flexing chart dominance and implying the crown had shifted. The exchange stayed mostly lyrical, no press conference fireworks, but fans and blogs treated it like a generational relay, the disciple asserting his era, while the originator reminded everyone the source never dried up. Years later, the tension resurfaced on the world's biggest stage. Timberlake's 2018 Super Bowl halftime show in Minneapolis included a Prince tribute that divided viewers. A planned hologram rumor swirled, then morphed into a giant, violet projection. Respectful to some, tone-deaf to others who remembered the earlier quips. Timberlake praised Prince in interviews and positioned the moment as homage. Yet the discourse reopened the old question about lineage and credit. Strip away the memes and you get a simple lesson. Borrowing the Minneapolis sound, those tight drum machines, glassy synths, and knife-sharp guitars demands reverence, not just replication. Prince's aside wasn't insecurity, it was quality control. Styles don't come back because marketing declares them back. They endure because the artist brings sweat, risk, and soul. 3 things that never left in Prince's house, and that any heir has to earn, not announce. That was the point he kept making, relentlessly, again and again, publicly. Plenty of icons gave Weird Al a wink and a yes. Prince never did. Not for 1999, not for Kiss, not for anything. Yankovic has told the story for years. Every time he reached out, always as a courtesy, even though parody can qualify as fair use, the answer from Camp Prince was a clean, unwavering number. The most famous moment became comedy lore. Before a major awards show, Al received a terse note instructing him not to make eye contact with Prince. It turned into a late-night talk show punchline, but the pattern behind it wasn't a gag. It was policy. Why the wall? Control. Intent. Meaning. Prince treated songs like sacred architecture, load-bearing lines, carefully placed silences, a design where even the negative space carried weight. A parody doesn't just change lyrics, it recontextualizes the entire structure, shifting tone, purpose, and authorship in the public imagination. For an artist who built a mythos around mystery, precision, and total authorship, from production and publishing to stagecraft, that kind of remix by comedy felt like a distortion he didn't consent to. Contrast that with the many megastars who happily played along with Al. Michael Jackson famously okayed Eat It and Fat. Other rock giants did too. Prince's refusal wasn't about humor being beneath him. He was hilarious when he chose to be. Deadpan quips, sly onstage asides, the kind of timing that could silence a room. But the joke had to be his, on his terms, inside his frame. A parody flips that. The target sets nothing. The parodist sets everything. Even decades later, Yankovic has repeated that Prince was the lone consistent hard no in an otherwise cooperative career. That stubborn line tells you more about Prince than any rumor ever could. He didn't dislike laughter. He disliked losing the steering wheel. You don't turn Paisley Park into a funhouse just because you can. Nothing compares to you is a cathedral of ache. Prince wrote it. Sinéad O'Connor made it a global prayer. Then came the split-screen narrative. In interviews and her memoir, O'Connor alleged that a late-night summons to meet Prince turned confrontational, calls in the small hours, a tense drive, and behavior she described as frightening. It's her account, repeated consistently over the years. People close to Prince pushed back, calling that version exaggerated or impossible, and no formal record. The song itself sits in the middle, like disputed territory. Who owns emotion once a writer's words leave the page? O'Connor's voice turned Prince's lyric into something almost unbearably intimate, and with that success came a question neither artist could comfortably answer: control. Prince guarded his catalog with near-religious intensity. O'Connor guarded her autonomy with the same fire. Their collision wasn't gossip. It was two uncompromising visions refusing to bend. Listen to the record, And you can hear the paradox humming underneath. It's a Prince composition, but the world learned it in O'Connor's timbre, her shaved head stillness, her direct gaze. For millions, that's the definitive text. For Prince, the text was always the song as he conceived it, the architecture behind the feeling. Both truths can stand. That's what makes this chapter thorny and, in a strange way, honest. So we present it as it lives, allegation and rebuttal side by side, the echo never fully fading. No heroes, no villains, just a legendary writer and a singular singer wrestling over the same sacred thing, what a song means. And who gets to decide? The bruise never quite healed, but the music endures, unblinking, unforgettable, and somehow, that tension became part of the song's legacy, pulsing beneath every replay for decades. You've seen the meme. An interviewer asks Eric Clapton what it feels like to be the world's greatest guitarist, and he replies, "I don't know. Ask Prince." It's a perfect punchline for a TikTok reel, but it isn't real. Fact checkers have traced the line through decades of message boards and comments, where it morphs from one guitar hero to another. Sometimes it's Clapton, sometimes Jeff Beck, sometimes B.B. King. The reason it sticks is simple. It flatters what fans already believe, that even the establishment bowed to Prince. But the quote itself has no verifiable source. Here's what is true. Clapton publicly praised Prince after his passing, calling him a true genius and singling out his supernatural showmanship. That sincere admiration gets mashed up with the viral one-liner until people remember the applause and forget the absence of evidence. It's myth by momentum. Repeated enough, a caption becomes fact, especially when it feels emotionally right. So why bring this up in a video about rivals and refusals? Because Prince's actual life doesn't need borrowed folklore to prove anything. The real receipts are breathtaking. The While My Guitar Gently Weeps solo that hijacked a Hall of Fame stage. The Super Bowl in a downpour that sounded like studio weather. The vault of songs he wrote for others that still chart decades later. Those aren't memes. They're measurable shocks to the culture. Keeping the record clean honors both men. It lets Clapton's genuine respect stand on its own, and it keeps Prince's legend tethered to what he actually did. Believe the solos, believe the songs, believe the standards he refused to lower. The quote, "File it with unicorns, then hit play on the real evidence." Truth travels farther when it's anchored to proof. Prince wasn't policing pop to be petty. He believed music should change you, make your shoulders move, your heart lurch, your mind tilt. When he saw the system reward shortcuts, he bristled. When he heard his ideas echoed without lineage, he spoke up. And when a yes would have made him bigger, he said no to stay true. That's the through line across Michael, Madonna, JT, Maroon 5, Al, Sinéad, and the pop industrial complex. Innovation over imitation, pulse over polish, meaning over marketing. You don't have to agree with every stance to feel the integrity. So here's the real question. Who, today, is brave enough to draw lines like that? Drop your picks below, then tell me which rivalry you want next.